is also adding a new imprint. This will be their 10th, and it's called Sacred Planet Books. It's going to publish 8 to 12 titles a year. They're focusing on books that are about planetary healing, personal transformation, redemption, inclusion, affirmation, and spirit, which I would have thought was the definition of every good book, but apparently they want something more specific. If you're getting anything out of this, I hope it's that there are a lot of opportunities out there and a lot of exciting things happening in the publishing world. So Red Sneaker writers, keep writing. I hope you won't mind that the writing tips section this time is more on the inspirational side, but I thought this was a great story, and I couldn't resist sharing it with you. This is about a new book of poetry by a rising poetry star in the UK. Wonderful, popular poems. What's unique about this? The author is 4 years old. 4-year-old boy named Nadim Shama Surgan. Again, apologies if I, in all likelihood, mispronounced that. But he's got a legit book deal. Now, think about this. As the article I read in The Guardian points out, Mary Shelley was 18 when she wrote Frankenstein, and Keats published poetry when he was 21. But 4? That's pretty good. And you know what? The poetry is pretty good, too. Childlike, yes, but really very charming. Since these were published in the newspaper article, I assume I can share them with you. He's got a poem called Coming Home. Take our gloves off. Take our shoes off. Put them where they're supposed to go. You take off your brave feeling, because there's nothing to be scared of in the house. And even better, a poem called Love. Everyone has love, even baddies. I mean, isn't that wonderful? You may wonder, how'd this guy get a book deal, for Pete's sake? Well, it turns out that Nadim was discovered by this year's winner of the Orville Prize, a poet named Kate Clancy, who met the young boy's mother, who is herself a professor of literature, at some kind of poetry retreat. And Ms. Clancy began sharing some of the young boy's poems on social media, and they went viral, met with all kinds of acclaim, much like what's happened in the U.S. with Instapoets, like Rupi Kaur. And pretty soon the young boy is being interviewed by the newspapers and interviewed on TV news. And, of course, Walker Books, paying attention, said, hey, we ought to get a book out. And so they will soon be releasing next summer this, what they call, astonishing collection by the 4-year-old poet. You're thinking, is this the youngest book deal ever? Youngest person to receive a book deal? And the answer is apparently no. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the youngest commercially published, and this is a female author, is Dorothy Strait, who wrote a book called How the World Began in 1964 at age 4, a little bit younger than Nadim. And it was published, although not until she was 6. And believe it or not, there's even another 4-year-old author from Sri Lanka. I will not even attempt to pronounce the name, but he released his book Junk Food in 2017, which he supposedly wrote in 3 days when he was just shy of his 5th birthday. Here's the part of this story that I like best. When interviewed by the paper The Guardian, they said Nadim seemed pretty excited about it, though not over the top. And at one point, he paused and asked, "When my poems are in a book, can I please have a copy?" The question we've all asked if we've been published by a small press, except this isn't even a small press. What's your takeaway here, Red Sneaker Writers? I hope you're not thinking, ugh, I'm older than 4 and I haven't been published yet. Or sure, other people get this, but not me. No, the clear lesson to me here is, when do you get published? Whether you're 4 or 40 or 80, you get published when you have the right book in the right place at the right time. That's what happened to Nadim. He had written the work. His mother shared it to somebody who liked it, and pretty soon it went on the internet, and he's all over the place. Happened for him a little bit early, but the point is, it happens if you've done the work. First and foremost, you have to do the right work, and then you may have to wait for the right place and the right time. But nothing's going to happen unless you've written the work, like Nadim did. That's how you get published. Writing tip number 1, sit down and write something. My interview for this episode is with Caro Begin, a wonderful author of many wonderful books, and also an expert on the subject of author websites. She'll be presenting on that subject this year at WriterCon, and I asked her about that and some other things during this interview. Here's what she had to say. Hey, thanks for being on the podcast.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Okay, traditional first question. If you could give an aspiring writer one piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be to be brave and actually sit down, write your book, and share it with the world.
Sometimes that's the hardest thing, isn't it? The sharing, the getting feedback from somebody who isn't your mother or your best friend.
That's true. And of course, it's best to put your best foot forward and get it edited and proofread before you share it. But get your story out there.
That's right. Well, you would know, you've done how many? At least 18 books that I know of. Does that sound about right?
Yes, I write under 2 pen names after originally publishing under my real name, but Caro Begin is very difficult to say, so I unpublished that, and I go by 2 pen names now.
But I'm glad you just said your name on the record, so when I'm trying to do it right later, I'll play this tape over and over again.
Yeah, I know, it's difficult.
You have built a success business, and I heard you speak Novelist Inc. on building author websites, which I know is a tricky thing because it's not like just every other website out there. What are the big differences for an author website?
Well, author websites, of course, you've got to promote your books, but I think for me, mainly self-published authors in particular, our biggest objective is often to get more newsletter subscribers. Mm-hmm. Because the more people you can have on your list, the bigger bang you can have with each launch.
Sure.
Because instead of just relying on Amazon to say, hey, there's a new book out, if you can email those people who like you, then you're going to sell a lot more books.
Sure, those email lists are like liquid gold now.
Yeah, so it's very important to try to put in an offer that's really hard to resist. So if authors can afford to put up a book for free, especially if it's an exclusive book that readers cannot get anywhere else, then you really make it sound really attractive and readers will want to sign up.
Well, no doubt, but who has a spare book lying around?
I know. But sometimes it can be a short story or a novella that's set in your world. It doesn't have to be a full novel.
I think that's what's going on at williambernhardt.com right now. I'm just going by memory, but I think if you sign up for the mailing list, you get a Ben Kincaid, a series character, short story, a whole book, though. I guess if you, my problem, I started in traditional, I had all those books at Random House, so I don't have the rights to them. I'd be happy to give away one of those, but I don't have the option. Giving away something that didn't sell or the first book in a series or what?
I mean, if you don't have another book to give away, sometimes you can give a character profile. If you write about a spy, for example, maybe it can be a cool document that you've made. It doesn't have to be long, but something to try to intrigue readers to sign up. You can also do it the plain way, just ask for an email address, but then you can't really expect that many people will want to sign up.
Yeah. I mean, I could see giving away the first book in a series on the theory that, well, people get that one free, like it, they'll get the rest, maybe. But as soon
Exactly.
as Amazon's little bots tell it that this book is available for free somewhere legit, they're going to lower the price at Amazon, right?
Yeah, and obviously you can't do that if you're exclusive to KU. So there's a lot of new authors that don't know
Okay.
all the rules. So
Yes.
there's often loopholes that we don't want to do anything illegal.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Where do you where when you help people collect these newsletter mailing lists, where do they go? Do you collect them at some mail service or something?
I work with various authors who work various services. So some people use MailerLite, ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit. Really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what company you use.
Hmm.
But I like to combine, let's say, MailerLite with BookFunnel. And that way you can collect those newsletter subscribers, but also take care of delivering that ebook that you promised using BookFunnel's amazing service.
Yes, we've had the book funnel people on the podcast before. What do you do with them? How do you integrate that into the whole website?
Well, it depends. There's two major routes. If you're on the inexpensive book funnel where it's only $20 per year, you have to be collecting the email addresses yourself. So you would put up, let's say, a sign up form from MailerLite that you embed onto your site. And then you create an automation within MailerLite. After people subscribe, then you send out a first email automatically where you would include that BookFunnel link. So you only use BookFunnel to deliver the file, but not to collect the email address.
Hmm. So what else should go on the author website? Lots of pictures of the author, or lots of pictures of the book, or what
Only
other
if they
design?
want to. And that's related to a lot of people ask me, should I blog?
Mhm.
That really depends on what you write. If you're a nonfiction writer, blogging is quite important. You can share your ideas with people before you publish them, get their feedback, see which ideas get more traction. That's one option, but you don't have to. You can most definitely put up your books and include all the retailer links. So if you're wide and you're on Amazon and Kobo and Apple Books, it's important to not just list Amazon. You need to put in other you can use affiliate links, but
Right,
regular links will do as well. Yeah.
right. BookFunnel helps with that too, right? They'll create landing pages so you can sell books from your website.
Yes, you can do that as well. And you can also use Books to Read, a wonderful service by Draft to Digital, and
Right.
that's free. So
Hmm. And books to read, you need sort of universal links that you post, and then potential buyers can go wherever they want, whatever online store they want to purchase the book.
exactly. So on your site, you just put a button that says all the retailer links, or you can use a Books to Read button, and people click on that. They are redirected to Books to Read, and then they find all of the retailer links for both ebook and audiobooks nowadays. So that's nice.
Well, you talked about blogs for nonfiction writers. What about for fiction writers? Waste of time, or should they be doing something else, or what do you think?
If you got a time machine and you can travel 20 years ago, then it'd be a good use of your time. If you're pressed for time now, I would recommend writing your next book as opposed to maintaining a blog. But
Mhm.
if you've got lots of time and you like blogging about things and you've already been doing it for a while, then go ahead, continue doing that. But I don't think that's going to sell you as many books as writing your next book.
What are you going to put in those newsletters then? You got to have some content beyond just buy my wonderful new book. And if you don't have a blog to stick in there, what goes in the newsletter?
Oh, well, I have an autoresponder that goes for a long time where I talk about myself, but I talk about how I came up with my book ideas and I ask readers questions. For example, for my erotica, uh, they are set in different countries. And sometimes I include a few words in Spanish or sometimes a few words in French. So I use these little tidbits that make my books original. And that's what I use for content for my newsletters. I ask people where they're from in the world. I tell them about where I've been, where my books are set. There's another email that talks about languages that I speak. I ask them what languages they speak. So sometimes it's just using what you have in your books, perhaps the setting or something about your character, and you can expand on that and ask your readers questions.
How important is it to keep updating the author's webpage? I mean, if
I
I
mean,
could just
anytime you
read it once and leave it alone, it'd be okay. But if I have to keep updating all the time, that's a whole different thing.